All right, thank you for being there. So let's begin with the economic relevance of Facebook services globally. My guest is Dr. Osaze Iyuha, who's an economist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Blessing. Good afternoon, viewers. It's a delight to be here.
It's also a delight to have you on the show.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about what happened some days ago, precisely Monday. Monday from between some minutes before 5 o'clock. Yes, a lot of persons observed that they were no longer having a connection on the messaging app, WhatsApp. And then that's made other persons begin to call and ask, do you have service? Are you able to send message via WhatsApp? Is your WhatsApp working? And then further inquiry revealed that it wasn't just WhatsApp that was having issues at that time. All Facebook-related services owned by the same person, Mark Zuckerberg, at that time were down. They weren't functioning. Facebook and Instagram inclusive. Now, that's lasted for about 6 hours. Now, in that time, a lot had happened. So let's look at the panic, first of all, in Nigeria. What does that show? When people started panicking that they couldn't send messages, they couldn't use Facebook, they couldn't use Instagram. What does that say about us?
Yeah, I think it just brought to the fore that we are truly in a digital economy now. There's so much reliance, and it also speaks to the trust that we seem to have in these social media networks. It's now just like a given, like you come out in the morning and you expect to breathe fresh air. That's how it looks like now. So initially people thought it was their network. I thought it was my network. Put it off, put it on severally. So when I went to check one of the browsers and I saw that it was browsing, then we knew that it had to do with Facebook per se. So it lasted for about 7 hours. I just feel that first it speaks to the trust that we have in the social networks, because it took almost about 2-3 hours before we now came to reality that it's something that has to do with those social media networks and not our global or our national networks. And it also speaks to the reliance that we now are on this social media network for communication, for business, and yeah, it just proves the fact that we are truly in a digital economy now. But I have a worry with how much we in this part of the world are exploiting these social networks or social media network for economic purposes, but we'll also talk about that.
Okay, now when all of that was over and service was restored to WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, now report has it that the owner of Facebook services, Mark Zuckerberg, lost over $6 billion. Now, how could that have happened in an hour about within a 6-hour period? Someone loses over $6 billion. Yeah,
it's very possible. In fact, I was reading a Bloomberg report, and they placed it at about 7 billion. Yeah, thereabouts. So, you know, there's so much dependence on these networks, as I said, and it's for the 3 networks that you got that amount: WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. There's so much. When you open your WhatsApp, your Facebook app, your homepage, you see adverts. You see some these adverts were paid for, and they are usually on per second basis. So you see that 7 billion, for me, I think it's even okay. I think it's moderate enough, considering the fact that every minute that you spend on the app, every second you spend on the app, there's the owner or whatever is being credited by Google or internet. So there's the money is being made per second. Every tariff that goes, that's why your MB, as your MB is leaving, just like you might have 2,000 MB. By the time you spend just 5 minutes, you see it has reduced to about 1,900. So there's also some remittance to Facebook and its database. So it's very possible. And also the Bloomberg report also placed it that on the economic scale, that about 106 million was lost per hour. That's Bloomberg report. From, I think they looked at traffic or whatever has been going on in the last 3-4 years. So they tried to do an estimate of how much the owner or how much each user, how much business is done online in the last 3 years, and they came up with about 106 million per hour. And so for the 7 hours, it was close to $1 billion. And you know, it's most of the people in the citizens in the Western region, they were much affected, because you see that we still have a lot of contact transactions in this part of the country. You can hardly get anything at real time. I mean real time. There's a difference between you place an order on one of these apps, then you order for a shirt, then it comes in 2-3 days. It's different from real time that's done in Western world, where you can order for food online, not call one fast food and bring. No, you order for food real time and you get it. Some have standing orders that they've placed for a month, and you wake up in the morning. You have friends in UK and other countries. They tell you, you wake up in the morning, you see cheese, eggs at your doorpost waiting for you, and in the afternoon you see. So these are all done online. So
those real-time businesses were affected.
They were affected, and I think it affected the Western world more because at the time it started about 4:38 or about to 5, as you said, here in Nigeria. But at that time, I was listening to the CNN report. It was about 9 o'clock, 9 a.m.
in the morning. So that was just like the start of business day.
If I took the larger part of the core working hours, so from 9 a.m., 7 hours gives you about 4 o'clock. So the entire working hour was almost lost. And you know, as I said, for those who do real-time business, it affected. I read a report, you had so many entrepreneurs complaining that it affected their orders. Customers placed orders they couldn't get, orders that had been placed for supplies couldn't get, and so on. And even online business, there are some apps that are just completely online sales. Amazon and the rest, completely. They don't have
rely on Facebook as the hub.
Facebook. In fact, other countries talked about the fact that Facebook is the login app for their smart televisions, for thermostats, and to even other apps. The Facebook, their Facebook ID is the app, is the login they use for those apps. So it was, I think the impact was felt mostly in the Western world. And I think on the flip side, I think it's also a lesson to us in this part of the country or in this part of the world that the world is going digital. So we have to, I don't know, I'm just suspecting that, I think if you would interview most Nigerians, my thinking though is that most of their complaints will be the fact that they were not able to send pictures, they were not able to send music, they were not able to update their status. So my thinking is that we still are not exploring these social media networks maximally for economic. I don't want to just believe that. I think if it was 1 billion globally, I don't know what market share, what share the Nigerian economy lost.
I think the complaint for Nigerians mostly wasn't about Facebook per se. It was about WhatsApp not functioning at the time. A lot of persons seem to be more conversant with the use of WhatsApp for business than Facebook for business, posting of status, getting orders, and all of that through WhatsApp.
As you say, I think we are more WhatsApp savvy, and it's mainly in my own thinking, it's mainly for status messages, sending. If you do business on WhatsApp, but I'm just worried that we have to now. It's just a wake-up call to us now that the world has gone digital. Because I don't know how to bring it so clearly to the fact that the Western world really felt it. The following day, the U.S. Congress summoned Mark Zuckerberg. He was called to the Congress, to their National Assembly, and he was drilled for over 1 hour. I watched it live.
Why such a thing could happen?
Because it goes to point to the fact that it hits their economy so hard. They must have felt it really hard. So that's why it just points to the fact that we have to now do a lot more of online transactions.
But doesn't that also means that the over-dependence on Facebook is dangerous?
Over-dependence on Facebook, but not on online transactions. So I think it has also opened the eyes of so many people to, but at least the frequency rates has not been. I think the last time we had this shut down was 2008 when Facebook went out for
reports had it that this was the second in the year 2021.
Yeah, there have been. I think the third. So there was one in March, there was one in July, but it was just about an hour.
Not up to this was the longest
we've had. I think the longest before now was 2008, and it lasted for a day. But you see these down times. That's the mischief of technology. It always comes. And how long? 7 hours. But it's still better for me comparatively with a situation where your urban market or your whatever market is burnt down. Fire raises the market and everybody loses his shop, and it takes government to keep promising. I think spare part market was burnt some almost last year and about last year until now. They are still, government has promised, and so I think for me it's still better because and you have alternatives. you now have people now, you have most of the citizens, especially in Western world, saying that they have now moved to Telegram from WhatsApp. You now have alternative, even Signal. There are a number of chat apps. There's Badu, there's To Go, without mentioning names. So there are so many alternatives. I think, but at the end of the day, I can't think or remember when last the entire internet went out. Okay. So it just shows that businesses should have alternatives. You have WhatsApp, Facebook, and it's just because it's one owner who has both. So it was same server controlling the 3 apps, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook, and that's why it went. So they said that it was an internal configuration error, an update. It had nothing to do with hacking. It was an update that went wrong. You understand? But I think that in it all, it's still the most dependable, compared to our physical market. So I think, as I said in summary, that with Nigerians, we should key into this exploit the economic side of online business, so that we are not looking at the mirror from the other side. You are looking at a mirror, and the person looking at the mirror is smiling, and you at the back is blurred. You don't understand why. It's because, so we have to move
Take
away
advantage
from this
of e-commerce.
Yeah, exactly. Take advantage of e-commerce. That's the word.
Okay, on the other side, let's look at the negative effect this would have on Facebook. It seems this shutdown for some hours has exposed them to competitions.
Yeah, it has. In fact, it affected their stock rating. It happened on Monday. By Tuesday, reports that their stock had fallen by about 5.5% in stock market. In fact, over the last month, you know, as we say, it has happened. This is the 3rd time it's happening. Over the last month, Bloomberg reports showed that they have lost about $1 billion dollars worth of shares. So it has affected their reputation and trust. You know, the whites have very little tolerance to inefficiency. We blacks, we can tolerate a lot, but the whites have very. Look at BBM. BBM some years ago, everybody was on BBM. WhatsApp was as little known as possible.
Yes.
So when BBM had issues with their updates, then they had problem with WhatsApp. It took less than 6 months or so for people to migrate to WhatsApp. So it can happen. And that's why Facebook has been, when the American Congress were drilling Zuckerberg, they were asking him so many questions that he seems to be stifling competition, because you see, he acquired WhatsApp when he saw the competition was strong. He acquired Instagram.
Unfair trade practices.
Exactly, yeah, he did so, yes. Yes, it's fair competition. Yeah, but I think that I think if the people are still resolved or feel unsatisfied, there are so many apps that are lying somewhere, without calling names, that people could switch to at will.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so for us Nigerians now, we are making use of these apps now. But do you see the possibility of Nigerian developed app taking the place of maybe the app like WhatsApp for messaging, for running business, and even Facebook, locally made apps using this platform now? This incident to rise?
Yeah, I would have wished so, but I have my doubts, because I don't know. When we look at the economy, when you look at so many things, you look at IPOB, look at sit-at-home order, you look at so many things, you see that the economy does not look like we are ready to make any progress. Yeah, because when a country prides itself, about 2 years ago, I heard the vice president priding himself that Nigeria will start manufacturing pencil. So, and I don't think till now we saw that factory in the East. So when we are priding ourselves with pencil, a country is priding with, then I don't see how technology, because this is high-class technology. Okay. Talking about starting all these social media apps, I think it's still beyond the reach of Nigerians.
Isn't it just about high-class technology or about preference? Because even with developed apps that run on very high technology, for instance, Telegram, that a lot of persons used as an alternative the period WhatsApp was out. As soon as WhatsApp came back, a lot of persons retreated back to the use of WhatsApp. So is it a thing about the technology or the preference for certain apps that is a problem here?
Yeah, for now, I think it's about the preference. People still have leg room to bear the whatever the downtimes of WhatsApp, because they still, especially when the frequency is not really often, it's not regular, so they still feel like, okay, it's just a downtime. So, but I think that the question you asked, Nigeria developing a technology that
because
can match
everyone wants
Facebook.
to take advantage of this incident to advance their own app. App developers want to launch new apps, want to make popular other apps. Should we be left out?
Yeah, I think the developed countries, India, which is a very developing country, and some other country will take advantage of this. But Nigeria, I'm very pessimistic. We are not in any way at all ready for it. When we cannot keep our hardware, our simple manufacturing company like textile, and because whatever these companies are, they are going to be running on power. Okay. That's the problem that we have in the country. The environment. There's no power. I hate to talk about exactly. I hate to talk about the deficiency we have in manufacturing, but I've just so much that I sit at the economy. We had Michelin and Dunlop at a time in this country producing tires. In about 5 years ago, they are no longer, and I stand to because they are no longer in Nigeria. They have moved to Ghana, and we still are their largest market for tires till today. So why are they leaving? Because of power. Okay. And when you have a social media network that has to be run online 24 hours, then it has to be on power. So I can't imagine in the next 10 years Nigeria having an alternative to this, because you'll be running completely on diesel. Diesel is about 300 naira per barrel. So how much liter? So how much are they going to make? So
not to mention the internet connectivity.
Connectivity, yeah. How many areas? I think it's just 40% are connected to even the basic 3G. You're not talking of 4G. 5G has been launched recently. So I'm not optimistic at all. Nigeria's business and operating environment it's on a scale of 0 to 10 is less than 1. So
until these things are worked upon, then of course we can
start to dream. Yeah. For now, I think we should still be comforted with pencil and biro industry.
That's sarcastic.
Yeah. But that's what our vice president told us. Okay. That we were to set up a pencil industry.
Okay. Well, let's assume that with these, the minds of Nigerian leaders, of the president, the vice presidents are opened to areas of opportunities, especially technology, where we can begin to explore.
The political will is the most important factor.